Okay, sir. A very good morning to one and all present. My name is Dainit Lepcha. I'm from second SEM, and today I'm going to be talking about three three topics. That is the history and progress of pharmacovigilance, the significance of safety monitoring, and the pharmacovigilance in India and international aspects. First, we will talk about pharmacovigilance. So this word pharmacovigilance, it is divided into two parts. First part is pharmakon. It is basically a Greek word which means drug. And the other word, the vigilare, it is in French. It means to keep watch or to test or assess. As I told you, pharmacovigilance is divided into two words, pharmakon and vigilare. The first word means drug, and the second word means to keep watch, test, or assess. So, the definition of pharmacovigilance is it is the science and activities relating to the detection, assessment as in tests, understanding, and prevention of various drug effects on any other drug related problem. Now, for this, we need to know what adverse drug reaction is. So adverse drug reaction, it is a response which is noxious and unintended, which occurs at doses normally used in humans for the prophylaxis, diagnosis, or the therapy of a disease. So basically, adverse drug reaction, it is an unintended response or unintended injury that is caused by taking medicine. So adverse drug reaction, it can be by following a single dose, or if there's a prolonged administration of a particular drug, or result from the combination of two to more drugs, adverse drug reaction is caused. Now so uh, Dr. Vladimir Lepakin from Geneva 2005, what he said was that dying from a disease is sometimes unavoidable, but dying from a medicine is unacceptable. Here is where the pharmacovigilance plays a big role. Now we come to the various types of adverse drug reactions. The first is the type A or the augmented reaction. So how this reaction is occurs is, so this results from like when a normal therapeutic dose is given to an individual. Okay, so it leads to the exaggeration of the pharmacological action of the drug, even when it's given in like usual therapeutic dose. So this reaction, it can be predicted from the known pharmacology of the drug and dose dependent. Type 2, we have bizarre reactions. So these kind of reactions, they cannot be predicted from the pharmacology of the drug, and it's not dose dependent. Type C, we come to the continuous drug use. So when one drug is being used continuously for a long period of time, so what it leads to the dose accumulation. So for example, corticosteroids, it leads like continuous use leads to adrenal suppression. So this type of ADR, it may be irreversible, unexpected, or unpredictable. We have type D reactions. Now it is the delayed reactions. So after treatment of a drug, after many years, this type of reaction shows. It also can be due to accumulation as well. Now we have type E or the end of dose reaction. So what happens is when one person is given one drug treatment for a long time, and when suddenly there is the withdrawal of the drug, so this kind of adverse drug reaction is caused when there is a sudden stoppage of the use. Now we come to the side effects of the side effect. So what this is like, it is the effect caused by a drug other than the intended therapeutic use. It shows therapeutic effect as well, but along with that, the other undesired effect is done. For example, we can give any example for this example, paracetamol. Okay, paracetamol, it causes the side effect of paracetamol, it causes stomach pain and loss of appetite. So now we come to the secondary effects. So this is the indirect consequence of a primary action of the drug. So when we give drug for a primary action, sometimes it leads to the indirect consequence, and it leads to the secondary effect of the adverse drug reaction. Now we have the toxic effects. So the excessive pharmacological action, due to the when one drug is used over and over again, and the dose is high and it is used for a long time, toxic effects of the drug is shown, which is one parameter of adverse drug reaction. Now we come to intolerance. Intolerance means it is the inability to tolerate the adverse effects of a medication. So generally, even at therapeutic or subtherapeutic dose, uh, when a person is unable to tolerate the adverse effects, it is called intolerance. So appearance of characteristic toxic effects of a drug in an individual at therapeutic dose is called as intolerance. Now we come to idiosyncrasy. It is genetically determined abnormal reactivity to chemicals. So any type of chemical, when it shows the abnormal reaction, so it is known as idiosyncrasy, and it is restricted to individual with particular genotype, and it depends on person to person. Now we come to the photosensitivity. So photosensitivity, cutaneous reaction resulting from drug-induced sensitization of the skin to UV radiation. Cutaneous reaction is basically reaction on the skin because of the UV radiation. Sometimes skin cancer is caused. So this is also one parameter of adverse drug reaction. Now we come to teratogenicity. What is teratogenicity is? It is the capacity of drug to cause fetal abnormalities when administered to a pregnant mother. For example, in 1960s, the thalidomide disaster occurred. Okay, so thalidomide disaster, what happened is when the pregnant mothers, they were given this, this medicine was to produce a sedative effect, and was supposed to help in morning sickness. So when the pregnant mothers took that, so later when the baby was born, so it was born without limbs, and it was born with defect. So like this is the example of teratogenicity, you know, so that when pregnant mother consumes something, it has the capacity to affect the fetus as well. Now we come to mutagenicity and carcinogenicity. It is the capacity of a drug to cause the genetic defects and cancer respectively. Now we come to the various aims of pharmacovigilance. So the very main aim is to like improve the patient care, okay, provide safety and use of medicines and all kind of medical and paramedical interventions. It is mainly just focusing on the patient care and safeguarding the health of the patient. Second point is it also improves the public. So public as a whole, when patient to patient care is given, it improves the public as a whole, and its safety in relation to the use of the medicine. Third point is to contribute the assessment of benefit, harm, effectiveness, and risk of medicines, encouraging their safe, rational, and more effective, including cost-effective use. So here, basically, the test for side effects, the therapeutic action, the effectiveness, and including cost-effective measures like this, like the pharmacovigilance aims in doing all these things. Fourth point is to promote understanding, education, and clinical training in people. So basically, the fourth point, what it says is to spread awareness, to educate people about the adverse drug effects, adverse drug events, and various reactions that follow-up reactions of a drug. So public awareness is done by educating people. Um, Fifth point, we have identify previously recognized adverse effects. So it assesses or it checks the previous adverse effects, or the changes in the patterns of adverse effects of particular drugs. So sixth point, we have it assesses the risks and benefit of medicines in order to determine what action, if any, is necessary to improve their safe use. So it is tested, those drugs, they are tested for their risk, their benefits, for their therapeutic efficacy, for their toxicity. It is tested so that it safeguards the health of the patient. fourth, last point is provide information to healthcare professionals and patients to optimize safe and effective use of medicines. So as I told you, this is basically, it creates awareness and like informations to even the workers, like example healthcare professionals. It helps to give them education and to optimize safe and effective use of medicines. Now we come to the need for pharmacovigilance. Now, why we need pharmacovigilance is insufficient evidence of safety from clinical trials. Like only when clinical trials is done, it does not ensure 100% safety for use, as I told you about the thalidomide disaster. And also like the vulnerable groups of the society, example pregnant mothers, breastfeeding mothers, example old people and infants. These people does not fit the normal healthy norms of the society. So for these people, like only clinical trials if it's done, it doesn't provide sufficient evidence for the use of the particular drug. Medicines are supposed to save lives, as there even today there are many deaths that leads to the adverse reactions of the drug. And this pharmacovigilance aims that medical medicines are supposed to save lives and not cause death of people. To keep products on the market, like these pharmaceutical companies, they invest a lot of time and money to just create a new drug, to go through various clinical trials, and then for post marketing, when they are allowed, they spend like years and years of time and a lot of money. So to safeguard the company, also we need the pharmacovigilance to protect patients from unnecessary harm, to reduce the healthcare expenses of the patients. And the ethical thing to do is like to know of something that is harmful to another person who does not know, and not telling is unethical. So we need to tell people, if you know something, we need to um, educate them, we need to spread awareness about what's going on with the adverse drug reactions. Now we come to the clinical trials. As we know, like with this pharmacovigilance, it helps in assessing the risk of the, it keeps assessing the drug since it is started from the lab till its marketing. So as we all know that preclinical trials is done first, where animal testing is done, and second is clinical trials is done phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 is given to healthy patients, then phase 2, phase 3 it's given to patients. So after its approval by the new drug application and Food and Drug Administration, it is approved for the post marketing thing. So however, what happens is some of the adverse drug reactions, while this all is happening, adverse pharmacovigilance still has its role there. But some adverse drug reactions, what happens is it is detected only after it's marketed. Okay, so how it works is, for first the ADR suspicion, like adverse drug reaction, if any person is suspected to be undergoing the adverse drug reaction, so ADR is reported, adverse drug reaction is reported, and analysis is done, and after the analysis is done, the sharing of finding is done. Now we come to actions taken from the PV findings include. Now after we know that a particular drug is having this adverse drug effect, adverse drug reaction, so after this analysis is done, so what the pharmacovigilance, what action it does is, it restricts its use, it bans its use from the market. Second is, it changes in the specified dose of a medicine. For example, if certain dose is given to a patient and it causes adverse drug reaction, after various analysis, the dose is changed. The dose is changed so that it does not cause the adverse drug effect. Third, we have the introduction of specific warnings in the product information. Like warnings are given in the product, like what all adverse effects the particular medicine has caused before in the past, so that people are aware of it. Now, fourth is changing the legal status of the medicine. Example, legal status means suppose, for example, sleeping pills. Sleeping pills, like we can get only through prescription, right? So, like if a drug is having an adverse drug effect, so we can change the, I mean, pharmacovigilance. It changed the legal status. For example, if some drug was supposed to be like found over the counter. We go to a pharmacy, we ask them, they give us without any questions. But after this, after the legal status change, we can get the drug only through prescriptions provided by the doctor, so that the adverse drug reaction is regulated. And the last one is the product recall. So in rare cases, removal of the market medicine from the market is done. It's done very rarely, but what happens is the use of the product, I mean, the product is completely removed from the market. If suppose if the risk is higher than the efficacy of the medicine, then it is completely removed from the market. Now we come to how improving, like how we can improve the adverse effect reporting. So nowadays the publication revolves around uh, the safety can be monitored. Now this was the thalidomide disaster which happened in 1960. Pharmacovigilance means the malformed gene. So this led the defect in the limbs of the um, thalidomide, because of thalidomide. Now we come to the history of pharmacovigilance as to how it started. So in 1928, what happened was there was this girl called Hannah Greener. So Hannah Greener had some issues with her toenail, so her toenail was supposed to be removed. So chloroform was given to her as anesthetic. So what it led to the death of Hannah Greener. From then on, the efficacy, the drug study, like safety of the drug, is has been prioritized because of the death of. It started in 1828, the death of Hannah Greener. So 1893, what happened was Lancet initiated foundation of a commission and started collection of notification about the various side effects of drug. He started collecting. 1902 is the Biologics Control Act was established. So what happened here was like children, they died of this vaccine called diphtheria antitoxin. So what did happen was it was contaminated and it led to the death of many children. So the Biologic Control Act was formed in 1902. 1906, Pure Food and Drug Act was established. In 1937, elixir of sulfonamide. So there is this poisonous solvent called diethyl glycol. So no toxicity tests were performed for this particular substance. So it led to the death of 100 people. So in 37, elixir of sulfonamide was established. 1938 led to the establishment of Federal Food, Drugs and Cosmetics Act. 1949, Council for International Organizations of Medical Sciences by WHO and UNESCO. 1961, thalidomide. So I told you previously, I explained about the thalidomide disaster. So over 10,000 children in 46 countries were born with birth defects of pocomalia, that is the defected limbs. So thalidomide, after this thalidomide disaster, the priority for drug safety was, it raised the bars for the drug safety. And 1962, Kefauver-Harris amendments passed which required evidence of drug efficacy and safety before the marketing. Now 1964, 1964, a yellow card scheme was established. What it does is it collects the information of like if suspected adverse reactions, the info is collected, and what are the possible hazards that it can cause, so that warnings provided so that we can avoid the possible hazard of the adverse drug. Now, 1964, the Declaration of Helsinki was established, the World's Medical Association best known policy, and was first adopted as a set ethical principles regarding human experimentation. 1967, World Health Organization, so it laid out resolution basis for the international system of monitoring adverse drug reactions. 1968 was the Medicines Act. It basically what it does is it governs the control of medicines for human, veterinary, including manufacture and supply. 1973, the French pharmacovigilance system was implemented. 1982, benoxaprofen. So benoxaprofen is basically an NSA. So it was found to be, when recalling, it was found to be linked with 3,500 side effects and 61 deaths. So when assessment was done, it led to this report. So in order to prevent the progress of the disaster and further ensure safety. 1991, European Rapid Alert System to facilitate early exchange of information concerning possible safety hazards relating to the marketing medicinal products. 2001, the European Union Clinical Trial Directive was introduced. Measures on the safe conduct of the clinical trials. Volume 9A introduced to standard post-marketing PV systems in the European system. 2009, we had MHRA Black Triangle scheme. So it was to report all the suspected adverse reaction to designated Black Triangle drugs. So what is Black Triangle drugs means? It is any drug or vaccine. So if it is a new compound, or if it is a combination of two or more drugs, or there's a new route of administration, it falls under the Black Triangle drugs. So this MHRA Black Triangle scheme was to report all the suspected adverse reactions. 2012 was the release of Good Pharmacovigilance Practice to replace the Volume 9A. So they expand on the clarity of the PV responsibility of market authorization holders. So what the Good Pharmacovigilance Practice states is that the pharmacovigilance should be responsible for the authorization of the marketing of the drugs. 2014 led to new clinical trial regulations signed into force to replace the European Union Clinical Trial
Zion, mate, sorry to interrupt you. The slides are not moving.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Okay.
So I'm going to explain again. So 2001, the European Union Clinical Trial Directive, it was introduced. Measures on the safe conduct of the clinical trials. 2009, MHRA Black Triangle Scheme. So as I told you, so any drug or vaccine, if it is a new compound, or it is a combination of two to more drugs, or if there is a new route of administration, so all the suspected adverse reaction was to be reported. 2012 was the release of Good Pharmacovigilance Practice. So what it says is that the pharmacovigilance should be responsible for the authorization of the marketing of the drugs. So 2014 new clinical trial regulations signed into force to replace the European Union Clinical Trial Directives 2001. So on 2017, new modules and risk management and risk minimization measures were implemented. Now we come to the significance of the pharmacovigilance. We've already discussed the significance, but in more detailed way. So the drugs appear to be like, the drugs appear to be like safe and well tolerated, but the safety in the real world is unclear. For example, if there is there is repeated use of drugs, or it is combined with some other drugs, it does not ensure the safety of the drug. So second point is safety in vulnerable groups is unknown. For example, clinical trials, just clinical trials without pharmacovigilance, it does not guarantee the safety of the vulnerable groups. So vulnerable groups include people like, pregnant mothers, for example, breastfeeding mothers, old people, and infants. So these are the vulnerable groups. So it does not ensure the safety. So that's where pharmacovigilance steps in, and it helps in ensuring the safety of the vulnerable groups. Significant harm to a few patients, rumors, and myths. So, what it can do is it can destroy the credibility. Credibility, as in the quality of being trusted, adherence means attachment to the success of the treatment. Now we come to the so pharmacovigilance. What it does is it provides proofs, or it provides evidence. Example, any medicine related problems like treatment failure, poor quality medicines, drug interactions, or incorrect use. It provides evidence for that. Second is generate evidence that will inspire public confidence and trust. So it basically generates and gives proof so that the public has the confidence and trust to take the drug. Pharmacovigilance system is strongly recommended. A system of reporting exists or capacity for monitoring. So pharmacological system, like it should be in a systematic way. Like for example, the reporting of the adverse drug reactions and the capacity for the monitoring of the adverse drug reactions is done. And now we come to the what pharmacovigilance has done. Like pharmacovigilance, it saves lives of thousands and thousands of people each year. How it does is it monitors the adverse drug reaction right from the lab, since its production from the lab till it reaches the marketing. So pharmacology vigilance, it keeps tracks of what is going on. So drug manufacturers, for example, as I told you, so these pharmaceutical companies, they spend millions and millions of dollars working on one medicine and lots of time. So what pharmacology vigilance is done is, since the starting to the last, it keeps assessing the adverse drug reactions. So what happens if it minimizes the risks of the drug being completely removed from the market. So it also helps safeguarding the money for the drug manufacturers. Furthermore, the reputation of company is also severely damaged. So what it does is, like, when one drug is completely removed from the market, if it is banned, so it leads to the reputation of the company is damaged. So pharmacovigilance, it monitors the development of the drug across various stages and assesses its effectiveness after its launch for many years. So after for many years, when it is assessed, so it reduces the adverse risk of the drug. Now we come to our last topic, that is the pharmacovigilance in India and international aspect. So in 1962, USA revised law requiring to prove safety and efficacy before issuing marketing authorization. This happened after the thalidomide disaster. 1963, British Committee on Safety of Drug Monitoring, and 1964, UK started yellow card system. Now, what is yellow card system means? It collects information on suspected adverse drug reactions of medicines, so that warning can be given and later possible hazard caused by the drug is minimized. So 1964 to 65, National ADR Reporting System, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, West Germany, and Sweden. 1968, WHO Collaborating Center for International Drug Monitoring, Geneva. 1978, moved to Uppsala. So Uppsala is a monitoring center which is present in Sweden. So it's just the field name for the WHO Collaborating Center for International Drug Monitoring. So after agreement between Sweden and WHO, it was moved to Uppsala. The collaborating center was moved to Uppsala. Non-profit foundation with international administrative board, WHO headquarters responsible for policy, self-financial, and global pharmacovigilance. Now we start with the pharmacovigilance in India, like the overview. As I told you, the main bar that was set was due to the thalidomide disaster that happened in 1960. But after that, the international, internationally, pharmacovigilance was established in many nations, but in India it came in the year 1986. So pharmacovigilance activities were initiated with the proposal of a formal adverse drug reaction monitoring system. So it has 12 regional centers for a population of 50 million each. So in 1989, six regional centers were set up in Mumbai, New Delhi, Kolkata, Lucknow, Pondicherry, and Chandigarh under the supervision of the Drug Controller of India. The first establishment was the National Pharmacovigilance Program. So, National Pharmacovigilance was initiated by the government of India by launching the National Program of Pharmacovigilance. It was with the support of the World Bank in 2024. So, in short, what is its main objective is that it fosters a reporting culture so that the adverse drug reaction can be reported well, and so that many facilities are there for the reporting, to involve a large number of HCPs in the system for the dissemination of information. So a large number of healthcare professionals are being involved so that the processing of the reports is faster and information is passed on, and to be a benchmark for global drug monitoring. These are the three objectives of the National Pharmacovigilance Program. Now we come to the Pharmacovigilance Program of India, also known as EVIP. So the National Pharmacovigilance, it was renamed, the same thing was renamed the Pharmacovigilance Program of India. It started functioning around 14th of July 2010 with the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, as the National Coordination Center. So this was later shifted from AIMS to Ghaziabad on 15th of April. So what it does is implements is its main aim is basically it generates independent data on the safety of drugs to match the global drug safety of the monitoring center. So because of pharmacovigilance was considered to be a program that monitors prescriptions for adverse drug effects, some clinicians, they were like very apprehensive about it. They were scared about it. They feared because they felt that their capability was being doubted. So the PVIP is striving very hard to overcome this and eliminate like underreporting. It's been eliminated. And now we come to the Hemovigilance of India, Hemovigilance Program of India. So what it is Hemovigilance. First is, what is Hemovigilance? It is a set of procedures covering blood transfusion chain. For example, from the donation to the processing of blood and its component to transfusion to patients and the follow-up activity of the hemo of the drug. So the program of India, it was launched on 10th December 2012 by the NCCPVPI with the National Institute of Biologicals, Noida, Uttar Pradesh, under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India as the NCC. So this program, it was initiated in 60 medical colleges in the country that were already rolled under the Pharmacovigilance India. The program collects and analyzes information about hemovigilance and adverse events concerning the biologicals and is constantly working towards the advancement of the quality and safety of blood products and the transfusion process to ensure patient safety and care. Now we have the Material Vigilance Program of India. So it was launched in 2015. What it does is it reports the events associated with the use of in vitro diagnosis. For example, any type of test done on samples, like for example, blood or tissue taken from the human body, is used to detect diseases or monitor the overall health of the patient. So this pharmaco material vigilance program deals with that. Now we come to the achievements of the pharmacovigilance. India, the establishment of 250 adverse monitoring centers that create a framework of pharmacovigilance and the culture of reporting all over India. So for public outreach, several awareness programs was conducted by the AMC, means the adverse effect monitoring centers. So the PVPI, it has contributed in many national health programs, example HIV/AIDS, immunization, tuberculosis. So the PVPI also initiated a skill development program. So it's called Basic and Regulatory Aspects of Pharmacovigilance. It trains young professionals in understanding the adverse drug reactions and the whole of pharmacovigilance. As we all know that antimicrobial resistance in our country is increasing. So PVPI so acts by all possible means of interventions. It assesses the danger of antimicrobial resistance and creates awareness. Now, the future challenges of the pharmacovigilance in India. So, comparison and monitoring of original reference products and generic products and biosimilars. Biosimilars is they are drugs that is designed to have the active properties um, like of the drug that has been previously licensed. So and the comparison and monitoring, like the future challenge of pharmacovigilance, to compare and monitor the original reference products and generic products and biosimilars. Monitoring of disease specific adverse drug reactions. Example, specific adverse drug reactions, disease specific, just for cardiovascular drugs, anti-diabetic drugs, and antipsychotic drugs. Awareness among the medical and paramedical staff, the combination products, and the adverse events reporting with the use of diagnostics. These are the future challenges of the PVIP. Thank you, sir.
Okay, it was a very good presentation. Any questions from
Sir, I
other
can't
students?
hear you properly.
Any questions from other students?
Hello?
No, sir.
Huh?
No doubts.
No doubts.
No, sir.
Okay, see, this is the pharmacovigilance she has taken from the unit 5, no? Unit 4.
Yes, sir.
So it's talking about the
Unit 4, sir.
unit 4 now. So the history of the pharmacovigilance significance and also the status in the pharmacovigilance. And can go to the few first slides. You've gone to this. You can move the slides to from the first slide. I'll just make a few of the things. So it is the definitions is very importantly. And if you see, she has given a lot of terminologies in the beginnings. You can see here adverse drug reaction. The terminology, this is very important. So say like nauseous, unintended. And also very importantly, you can see that doses at normally used in humans. Okay, at normal doses, any untoward noxious reactions occurs, then it is called it as ADR. Even for prophylaxis, diagnosis or therapy of disease also, it is called as an ADR. Next slide. And if you see the another next slide, you are given the terminologies, no? Okay, these are the types of reactions she has well explained with the examples. Okay, good. Next. Yeah, go back. This slide, you can see some terminologies. Side effects. Okay, so now the terminology side effect is not much widely accepted in the medical field. Adverse drug reaction is the right terminologies where we use. So side effect, it was used to earlier, like they say, like you can see that desired effect or in also in addition to therapeutic effect. So side effect used to be good effect and bad effect also. So if we give one right example for this was, you heard about minoxidil? drug minoxidil?
Sir, heard.
Earlier they used to use in the hypertension. Okay, so it used to be used for decreasing the blood pressure because it was a potent vasodilator. But that minoxidil, because of this vasodilatation, used to cause hirsutism. You know what is hirsutism? The growth of hair. So later on, what was done is there were lot more good drugs for hypertension came to the market. So the minoxidil was stopped as an antihypertensive, and because it used to grow hair. Okay, so now the minoxidil is used in alopecia, where there is a loss of hair. So it is used. So the side effects it can leads to like this. A drug along with a therapeutic effect, it may show other effect, maybe harmful or beneficial effect, which in future it can taken as an indication for that. But adverse drug reaction is not like that. Adverse drug reaction is always bad. You cannot make it as a very good like how we see the side effects. Same way like thalidomide. She was talking about thalidomide. Earlier they used to use for morning sickness in pregnant ladies, but cause teratogenicity. But now they stopped for almost for 40 to 50 years. The thalidomide was not there in the market. They withdraw. But now the thalidomide is again come to the market for the treatment of arthritis. So in the rheumatoid arthritis now they are using, but with the caution label that it should not be used in the pregnant ladies. So that's the very important things that you have to know that. And you can see the other terminologies like toxic effects and intolerance. This terminology is also very important. You can see the definition of it. It's an excessive pharmacological action of the drug due to overdosage. So adverse drug reaction is at normal dosage, the untoward reaction. Toxic effect is overdosage and something happens. So if the drug dosage was supposed to be 10 mg, so if the drug is used 10 mg, then something happens, then it is an ADR. But if the patient is taken 20 mg of that drug, because the stated dose is only 10 mg, but he's taken overdose about 10 mg, and something occurs, then it will be called as the toxic effects. And also, if the drug is used for very long period, prolonged use, we say like, okay, instead of using 1 week, they are used for 1 month, even at the normal dose. Okay, so especially the painkillers, NSAIDs, they give for 5 days, 6 days, but persons have pain, so continue for 1 month, 2 months. So that was a prolonged use than the medical advice. So during that time, something happens, then it we call it as toxic effects. And another terminology, if you see here, the intolerance also, you can see the difference between toxic and intolerance effects. You say like, if any toxic affects drug individual at therapeutic dose, okay, then we call it as intolerance. Okay, so if it is toxic effects is seen at normal dose, then it is an intolerance. If the toxic effects is seen in overdose or prolonged use, then we call it as toxic effects. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any questions here?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay. So this was a very important terminologies. You're supposed to know that. And coming to the next slides, you go to the further slides. This was okay. The aims all okay. Next slide. Keep moving it. Yeah, this is all the need for the PV. This very important things. Then next, it's very self-explanatory. Yeah, this one. So this is very important. So see, in clinical trials, only few thousands of people are get exposed. Maximum 5,000, 6,000. in the phase 3 clinical trial. But once the market comes to the once the product comes to the market, so millions of people are exposed to the medicines. So what we see in a very small populations may not be same observed in the when we use in huge populations where there is variety in the gender, genetic, and so much of changes, different variable factors are involved when we use in the market. So the drug can show a very different effects there. So during that time, the pharmacovigilance helps in especially the drugs in the marketed products, and where they bring a lot of changes in the labelings, drug labeling. Okay, and it also leads to restriction in use. It can withdraw. We can withdraw the product if there is. We call it as signal detection. That's the terminology we use in the pharmacovigilance. Signal detection. Signal detection means like any more importantly, any particular areas are reporting very frequently, a number frequency is increasing to that drug. Then the signal is there, like how we having now coronavirus. There is a signal that okay, it may cause spread to all people, so they have taken the action. So same way the drug use also, there will be a signal suggesting how to whether to use the drug or not uh, in the in the people. Okay, so it may many times if it is very severe, they will withdraw from the market. They should not use that drug. Or if it is something, give some warnings in the labeling also. It can be done. And okay, this is a very important things where the action taken from PV finding. That's why the pharmacovigilance is becoming very important now. And apart from this, the next slides talking about pharmacovigilance, the especially different types of vigilances like the material.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm back.
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
Okay,
and
sir.
Data is taking too much, gone to 1 GB.
okay, you just move a few slides, that meteorovigilance, hemovigilance slides. There are different terminologies for different products. Pharmacovigilance is totally for the drug products, and we have uh, the hemovigilance is for the blood products. Okay, blood related products. We have blood infusions, transfusions, donor, and receiver. Okay, so these two reactions can occur. So any related to the drug blood products, we call it as hemovigilance. Whereas for the drug, it is pharmacovigilance. And the another we talked about the meteorovigilance. The meteorovigilance is for any in vitro studies, the medical devices that we use. Okay, we can instead of associated with use of in vitro, we can also say it as medical devices. Okay, so anything like you use for any catheters, you use any implants, you use defibrillator in the heart, we use the knee caps in the. Yeah, I am back. There is from the network. Okay, so that is the material vigilance. I think you have not covered one more terminology, that is immunovigilance. IMMU, immunovigilance. That is any reactions occurs to for the vaccines and biological agents. We
Oh,
call it as. Okay, so that one
yes,
we
sir.
call it as immunovigilance. So these are all the main four
Yes, sir.
important things that comes under overall vigilance of the programs. Okay, I think we can
Yes,
end
sir.
here. So any more questions?
No, sir.